Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. This week's top 10 list is the top 10 most underrated notes. Now, these aren't necessarily in order by value or by underratedness, or they aren't in order by grade or anything like that. These are just 10 notes that I feel are due to be going up in value. I consider them very underrated. I'm glad that I have all of these, and I hope you guys try to pick them up too, because well, if I'm right, these are the next ones that are going to be jumping up in value. All right, number 10 on the list. Number 10, this is just a small head $50 bill. This particular one is from 1934. It is the light green. And yeah, $50 bills in general aren't heavily circulated. So the older the bill, the tougher it is to find. If somebody has a $100 bill and they go and break it, they're not going to get a 50, they're going to get 5 20s. Generally speaking, the only time a $50 bill is even handled is if you go to the bank and you say, give me $250, and you get two 100s and a 50. So you don't see 50s very often. That being said, they're just not out there. Finding a brand new 50 is tough. So if you stumble across a small head $50 bill, that's definitely a win. Now, this particular one here, I've got, like I said, this is a 1934 light green seal. I'm partial to the light green seals when it comes to the older notes, but you don't even need one that's this old. Any of the small head 50s just are not available. Of course, you guys are all familiar with the back on this one. You can see LGS light green seal. He had it priced at 70 on this side. He had it priced at 65 on this side, trying to move it. Yeah, most of these you're going to get for just about face value. Um, Collectibles at face value, that's not really a thing. You're not supposed to be able to get collectibles at face value. That's why I put this at number 10. It's definitely a note that's going to be on the upswing. Number 9. When it comes to $1 bills, especially large size $1 bills, if you're looking to 20th century notes, most people automatically go for the $1 silver certificate. They seem to ignore this one. This is a 1923 $1 legal tender. 1923 $1 legal tender obviously has the red seals, the red numbers. That's what differentiates it. A legal tender means that a law was passed and so much money was supposed to be printed based on that law, and it was given value by the sale of bonds and stuff like that. So there is a law giving this value. Like I said, normally when you see this bill, you see a blue seal, which would be a silver certificate. That note was backed by silver. That's the popular note, and it's fairly cheap because it's fairly common. But the red seal, like I said, even the back is just like the silver certificate. The only difference is the color of the seal. Now these are more expensive, but I think they're still underrated because you don't see them. This particular note, you can find one for about 200, but I still think that is undervalued for these particular notes. So this is another note I would scoop up while the getting is good. That is number 9 on my list. Number 8. Going a little older, we're going to 1907. This is a 1907 $5 legal tender. Once again, legal tender, you know right away that it's got the red seals on it like that. Now, this is known as the wood chopper. You can see by the engraving, there is basically life across the Midwest in the 1800s. He's got his wife, he's got his cabin in the back, there's his rifle, he's got his axe, he's got his dog, there's the baby. It's just, life back in the day. Very cool classic note. Take a peek at the back of this one here. This one does not have the error. There is an error on this word public. That U is broken, basically, is the best way to put it. And instead of looking like PUB, it looks like PCB. It was a very common error, so there isn't any difference in value, but you should still be aware that that's there. That way you can pick up one of each. This particular note, like I said, just very classic Americana, and very affordable. That's the other thing. A wood chopper in decent shape is about $225, and for me, you're talking about not a $1 bill, not a $2 bill, you're up to a $5 bill. So you're not necessarily talking a low denomination bill. $5 doesn't seem very high, but for legal tenders, you don't see very many that are above that particular denomination anymore. When you talk about red seals in the small size, there was simply the 1, the 2, the 5, and then they came out with 100 in the 1960s. So yeah, 5 is generally what you're going to see at the top end of the spectrum. Anyway, about $225 on this one. That one is number 8 on my list. Number 7, going a little older. This is an 1886 $1 bill. It is a silver certificate, and it features Martha Washington. Now, you want to talk about a note that has importance in our history. There have been women featured on notes prior to this, but they were generally fictional characters. This is Martha Washington, no doubt about it. This was George Washington's wife, the first named actual woman to appear on our currency. That happened in 1886. This particular one, yeah, 1886. Take a peek at the back. This was the first issue. They came out with another version of these in 1891 that has a lot more white on it. I like this version here. But anyway, you want to talk about a historically important note. Like I said, the first one to feature a woman. What does this one sell for? This important note, $350. That's it. $350 for an 1886 $1 silver certificate. Yeah, get this one while you can, because that is certainly a true piece of history. All right, number 6 on the list. I went with a 1922 $10 gold certificate. $10 gold certificate. Now these are out there. These you can find pretty easily, and their price is actually still affordable. You're talking about $325 for one of these in this particular condition. In a 20, it's about $325. I always call this the Charlie Brown note for some reason. I just see the big head and the little curl on the end. To me, he still looks bald, unless you look real close. Yeah, he's got hair there. I just think of that as Charlie Brown, and probably with the gold and the black reminding me of Charlie Brown's shirt. Anyway, $10 gold certificate from 1922. It's a gold certificate. Most people don't know that we even had gold certificates. Everybody's familiar with silver certificates, legal tenders, and stuff like that. Gold certificates, no. The other thing is that in 1933, gold was made illegal to own, and all gold certificates had to be redeemed. $10 was still a lot of money back then. So most people redeemed these. So there aren't that many of these around. So yeah, to add one of these to your collection, that is definitely something you should do. $325, I still think they're a little undervalued. That is number 6 on my list. Number 5, if you think that's undervalued, let's check out this one. The 1922 $20 gold certificate. $20 gold certificate. This represents a $20 gold coin, essentially 1 ounce of gold. If a 1 ounce gold coin today would be worth $1,800, how much should this piece of paper that most people turned in be worth? Because you were able to cash this in for 1 ounce of gold in 1922. Granted, 1933, think about that. In 1933, everybody was told to redeem these. If you didn't, it's like you didn't redeem your 1 ounce of gold. So what's this worth? Well, the 10 was worth $325, right? So if we're talking a 20, it should be worth twice that, right? It's not. That's why this is such an undervalued note. This one, even in a 20, you're talking about $275. This note is cheaper than the 10. And it's beautiful. I find this to be one of the most beautiful notes. In fact, if that design looks familiar, it's because it's the same design that they used on the small size $20 bill with the scrolling effect like this. So it is an iconic original idea that all of a sudden ended up on our pocket for like 80 years. Yes, they changed the president. And of course, there's the back of this particular note as well. That is the $20 gold certificate from 1922. It's a steal at $275. Number 5 on the list. Number 4. This is insane. My 1900 $10,000 gold certificate. Okay, first and foremost, it's a $10,000 note, and it's real. Okay, That alone is insane. Now, yes, these, of course, were all redeemed prior to 1933. The but that's the thing. All of them were redeemed. They were all accounted for. Every single one was redeemed. They were also saved and stored at the post office in Washington, D.C., and then that place caught on fire. The only way you can have one of these notes is if you have one of the notes that was literally thrown out of a window of a burning building. That is the only way you can have these. There are roughly 450 of these in existence. Okay, let me say that again. There are 450 of these. That's it. It's a $10,000 gold certificate, and it's one of 450. Okay, so is this note worth $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000? Is it worth 10,000? Is it worth 5,000? You could find these for about 1,500 bucks. Tell me this note is not undervalued. A one of 450 from 122 years ago, worth $10,000 at the time. It's only worth $1,500 right now. Yeah, we're going to call this severely underrated. All right, that is number 4. Number 3, we go from an extremely rare to an extremely common. This is an 1899 $1 silver certificate known as the Black Eagle. Another beautiful note. I'd spend up to get one that's in nice shape because it's just a beautiful note. One of the few notes to feature 2 presidents. You've got Lincoln and you've got Grant on the front of this one. Take a peek at the back so you can see that as well. This particular note, you can find these in poor condition, very cheap, very frequently. You want to get one that's a little bit nicer. What do you have to pay for one that's a little nicer? A mere 170 bucks. That's it. These are really nice looking notes. Like I said, to find them in nice shape, you have to pay up for them, and paying up is only $170. Get these before these are $200, $300, $400, because yeah, that's what I could foresee those easily. Number 2 on the list. This is my favorite note from this particular series. This is the $10 silver certificate. It is the emergency currency note from World War II. This is one of the North Africa notes. These were made for the military to spend on bases. And if for some reason the base was overrun or whatever and people got a hold of this, it would just be a swipe of the pen for Congress to say that any note with a gold seal like that would no longer be valid currency. I am always fascinated by this note. You've got the white background of the paper. You have the black ink on the borders. You have the blue ink marking it as silver certificate. You have the yellow ink for the seal on there, and then of course you have the green ink on the back. So many different colors. Such a colorful note. When you get one of these in beautiful shape like this, it's just really really cool to see. And so of course this has got to be like $300-$400 in this condition, right? No, you can pick up one of these for like 85 bucks. I mean, that's insane. $85 is all these go for. Get them while they're cheap, because these, when people see them, are very high demand notes. 85 is a steal. Yeah, definitely want to get that. And number 1 on my list. I did make mention of this note already, so it shouldn't be a real surprise. It is the newest note. It is one of the higher denominations. It is the 1966 $100 legal tender. You can see it says United States note, a United States note, a legal tender note. Those terms are interchangeable. What they did was, in 1966, they checked the books, and they were supposed to have printed so much money in the Legal Tender Act, and they didn't have that much in circulation. So rather than printing up a bunch more 1s, 2s, and 5s, I should say 2s and 5s, they just said screw it and went with the 100. We'll pump these out. There are people watching this video that were alive when these were made. So these are current. I've heard stories of people still getting these at a bank. Yeah, they're few and far between, of course. It's a $100 red seal. Like I said, they made $1 in 1928 for Puerto Rico. They made the $2 up until 1963. They made the $5 the same way. But if you want a large denomination, it's the 100, and they only did the 1966 and 1966A. They did not print many of these at all. What is it going to run you to get one of these? About 185 bucks. In good shape. That's it. Yes, all of these notes can easily be added to your collections, and every one of these should be on the upswing. All of these I'd consider undervalued. I'm glad that I have them, and hopefully you guys can get them in your collection soon. All right, if you learned anything new this week, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. I love reading all your comments. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.